Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf and to another tag. I haven't done one of those in a while, and even though it's only the end of April, so 4 months in the new year, the backlog is just so huge, mainly because there's this booktuber in Boston who does like a gazillion videos each day and a gazillion tags each week, and he tags me in every bloody tag he does just to irk me. Thank you, Steve, for all your tagging. But anyway, so I have the stay at home book tag for you today. But before we go into that, a public service announcement. For those of you who religiously follow my channel, which is just the majority of my viewers, of course, I wanted to say that for the moment I'm going back to uploading once a week on Sunday. You might know that I upload normally on Wednesdays and Sundays, but it's just too much for the time being, and not so much because of the corona thingy going on, but because I have to teach at the moment a university course, and that is online as well, and I have to pre-record lectures, 2 or 3 lectures a week, and 3 videos or 4 videos sometimes a week for me is just about enough. So for the time being, uploading only on Sunday, and then once the teaching is done, beginning of June, I hope to get back to twice a week. But anyway, the stay at home book tag. The tag was originally created by Maddie over at Princess of Paperback, and I forgot who tagged me, but it was probably Steve. I mean, who else? Anyway, let's get into the prompts. Prompt number 1, laying in bed, a book you've read in a day. And there are a couple of books that I could have picked, because if I really am into a book, and if it's not, like Tolstoy with 800 pages, I regularly read a book in one day. But I thought, because it's Aussie April, it is only fitting that I pick an Austrian author, which I read last year, Vicky Lavo-Harvey, The Erratics. And I'm not going to talk about the printed on stickers, because you know how much I love those stickers. I think it's fabulous that publishers just print the stickers on the cover. Yeah! Anyway, this was a Stella Prize winner last year, 2019. And the book, it's a memoir. And the book took quite a travel, because I was really interested in this memoir about a quite dysfunctional family, but I couldn't get the book. It's very difficult sometimes, in Europe at least, to get Australian books. I mean, in not like 10 years after they've been published, but at the time that they've been published. So a friend of mine in New York, she was able to get hold of a copy, because she has Australian friends, and they sent 2 copies to her in New York, and then she sent one to me in Cologne. So the book is well traveled. And I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it's a memoir of a quite dysfunctional family, and Vicky talks about the relationship, especially between her mother and her father. And her mother was suffering from, as we would say now, a mental disorder. She was abusive towards her husband and towards the 2 children. Vicky Lavo-Harvey has a sister, and the father, the role of the father was quite hard to grasp, because he didn't do anything about it. It's not at times an easy read, but I really enjoyed it, even though I thought that I would have liked that the author would have explored the role of the father and why he didn't do anything against this abusive wife and mother a little more. That would have been good. But still, it was a great read. It's not that thick, so I read it in a day. Prompt number 2, snacking. Guilty pleasure book. And I have no book for you for this prompt, because first of all, I think snacking is an integral part of food. You need sometimes food for your soul, and that's the snack, chocolate or whatever you are into with snacks or chips. I'm thinking of a particular booktuber who is very much into chips. Not talking about you, Doris, now do I? Anyway, so I don't feel that any books that I read, I would label them guilty pleasures. I mean, I sometimes read books just for the entertainment, like a mystery or a very fast paced thriller or sci fi. But I don't feel guilty about any of them. So I don't have books that qualify for this prompt at all. Sorry about that. Prompt number 3, Netflix, a series you want to start. And if you're following me, it's glare, I don't know. Anyway, if you're following my channel, you know that I struggle with series. I sometimes start a book in a series and I never continue. I'm just not good with series. Books, I mean, I'm very good binge watching Netflix series. No problem at all. But with books, I struggle. But there's one series that just started that I at least want to start. So that's the prompt, start a new series. It didn't say finish. And that's N.K. Jemisin, The City We Became, in her new Great Cities series. And the book came out earlier this year. And I really loved N.K. Jemisin's Broken Earth series. It was a trilogy, and I read all 3 books. Yeah, me. So this is at least a series that has the potential for me to continue, if it's as good as The Broken Earth. The first one, The City We Became, is set in New York. And the blurb says that every city has a soul, and New York has 5 souls, and some of them are, better than others. And then the 5 people or 5 New Yorkers have to come together to defend their city. That's basically all I know. And I think it's urban fantasy kind of book. But I was mainly interested, like I said, because it's N.K. Jemisin and because I love the Broken Earth series so much. On to prompt number 4, Deep Cleaning, a book that has been on your TBR for ages. Again, plenty of choices because I have books on my TBR that I bought years and years and years ago. But I had to choose one, so I chose this one because it's a funny story. And I thought, why not entertain you on this Sunday? So Elizabeth Bowen, In the Heat of, can you see this? Yeah. In the Heat of the Day, first published in 1948. Elizabeth Bowen was an Irish author, the beginning of the 20th century. She died in 1973, and I read a couple of her books and really liked them, so I wanted to read the whole backlist. In the Heat of the Day is set in London during World War II, during the air raids, and our main character, Stella, is one of the people who decides not to flee the city but stay. And that then she gets entangled in this web of intrigue and spy espionage and because her lover Robert is accused of selling secrets to the enemy. So it sounded really interesting, and you might ask, why haven't you read it then? Well, I bought this used, and whenever I buy a book, whether it's used or not, I look inside, either because I want to read a little, and if I want to buy the book anyway, I look nevertheless inside because I want to check the font. There are certain fonts that I just don't like. So I did with this book. I checked the font, and let me see. Yeah, it looked fine. Thought that's okay. But what I didn't realize was that this was only the font of the introduction, which was written later, and that the book itself, the story, was written in this kind of very, very black font that I just can't read because it makes my eyes wobble. So that's the reason that I haven't read this one, because I will probably have to get myself another copy. Prompt number 5, Animal Crossing, a book you bought recently because of the hype surrounding the book. And I have to say, first of all, I have FOMO. some of the time when everybody talks about a certain book and I haven't read it or have no inclination of reading it. But a lot of times, if I look at the book, I can get over that if I'm not interested. But sometimes I really want to I really want to form an opinion by myself if a book has controversial is discussed controversially, and that's why I bought Janine Cummings' American Dirt, and I've read it. It was published at the beginning of this year. You remember the controversy. I don't have to explain it to you, but I wanted to see for myself. I read it and I thought it was a really, really bad book. I'm not going to talk anymore about this. It's about a young Mexican journalist who loses her family in an attack by a cartel, except for her son, and then they try to flee from Mexico to the US, and that's the story of the book. I reviewed the book, so I will leave a link to the review down below if you're interested. It was just bad. Prompt number 6, productivity, a book you learned something from or that had an impact on you. And difficult to choose because a lot of books I learn something from. If it's a good book, I always learn something from it. Duh. So I picked a book that I'm currently reading, and that is a memoir, Rebecca Solnit, Recollections of My... I have difficulties holding up books today. I don't know why. Recollections of My Non-Existence. The book was just published a month ago, and it's her story when she was in her beginning of her 20s in the 1980s in San Francisco on her way to becoming a writer. And I love Rebecca Solnit's work, her essays. I think she has such a fresh and often unique look at things. And this one in particular, I'm not that far in, but I'm learning stuff on various levels. Her view on feminism, how she explores themes about feminism, but also for me, because I'm a writer myself, how she started developing herself as a writer, the way she wants to write, the things that she wants to write about, and the style she writes about. She's exclusively writing nonfiction essays. So I thought that this is really interesting, and even though I'm not that far in, but I already, know that I will learn something about writing and something about Rebecca Solnit's view on feminism, which is really interesting to me. Prompt number 7, Facetime, a book that has been gifted to you. And even though I don't get that many book gifts, mostly I get book vouchers because my friends know that I'm very particular about books, and that if they choose a book, either I don't like it or I already have it, or. But I was gifted a book recently by Amelia, who you probably know because she's one of our most faithful commenters on YouTube, and she gifted me the book by Susan Strait, In the Country of Women, which was published last year, 2019, and she read this book for the BookTube Prize Octo Final, so the first round in this year's BookTube Prize nonfiction section. It's a memoir. Susan Strait married, she's a white woman, a writer. She published various books before. I have read, I think, one book by her, but she married a black baseball player, and this book is about his family of strong women. So I thought that sounded fascinating, and when Amelia asked me whether she should send the book to me, I said yes, of course. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Oh, and come to think of it, Susan Strait didn't marry a baseball player. She married a basketball player. Sports and me, Anyway, basketball player. On to prompt number 8, self-care. And that's not a prompt with a book theme, but something you do in these times with quarantine and self-isolation to take care of yourself. And I talked about that in one of my last videos, that I try to move more because mostly I sit. either working from home or on the couch. So I did in March, end of March, I realized that basically what I do is from my bed I move to my desk, and from my desk I move to my couch, and from my couch I move to my bed, and then repeat. And that's not good for you, if you know. So Doris from All the Books came up with this virtual hiking for fun. I will leave a link to the website down below, and then you can just choose a trail, and you have to keep up with your steps. I have this watch counting my steps, and Doris is way ahead of me because we wanted to finish the trail in April, but I am at least doing, between 5 and 6 miles a day, which is better than before, in which I did basically 0 miles. So that's something that I try to do in order to take care of myself. And the last prompt is a bonus prompt, a book that is coming out soon. And of course I cheat, because the book came out already, but who cares? It's my tag, my party. I do what I want. And that book is Pip Williams' The Dictionary of Lost Words, which came out end of March. Pip Williams was born in London, but she now lives in Australia, and she is a writer, has written one other memoir about a sort of travel memoir, but I've never heard of her, so this will be my first book that I read by this author. The book is fiction this time, so not a non-fiction book, set in the beginning of the 20th century, at least that's when it starts, 1901, and the main character, Esme, is just a girl then, and her father and some colleagues are working on compiling words for the first English dictionary. And Esme is, following their work, and then she realizes that there are some words obviously more meaningful or more important than others, and that a lot of words not included in the dictionary have something to do with women. And so later, when she's an adult, she works on the English dictionary, but at the same time works on another project, the Dictionary of Lost Words. Hey, words, language, the meaning of language, how we decide which words are important and to include in a dictionary, and a bit of a touch of feminism in there at the beginning of the 20th century. I'm all in. So I picked this book as the cheaty bonus prompt, a book that will be published soon, in my case, has been published recently. Anyway, these were my answers to the stay-at-home book tag. It was a really fun tag to do. Whoever tagged me, probably Steve, thank you again for tagging me. This tag has been really making the rounds, so I don't know who did it or who was tagged already in other videos. So I'm doing the cop-out tag or tagging. If you watch this, if you haven't been tagged yet, please consider yourself tagged. Please do this tag. It's really fun to do, and it's a very appropriate very appropriate tag for our times. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and that you will stay safe and healthy. And I'm looking forward to your comments as always, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.